Welcome back to this Wednesday, April 11th edition, second part of the transmission. We're joined by one of my favorite guests because he has such an amazing grasp on a wide spectrum of issues. Tops Trends forecaster Gerald Celente joins us from trendsjournal.com. And I've got the waterfront that I want to cover with him. The economy, the latest on MF Global and Corzine not getting in trouble, the move to impeach Obama gaining steam in Congress. You got all these new Congress people coming out. You got Chuck Norris coming out. I mean, the ball's starting to roll, and more. The fact that it looks like Mitt Romney is going to be the guy they're going to put in. Talk about a choice between Tweedledee and Tweedledum. We're going to talk about it all with Gerald Celente joining us. Gerald, first out of the gates, I want to ask you this. The Trayvon Martin situation. We've now confirmed in the Orlando Sentinel that the white supremacists they've got running around there stirring stuff up are admittedly federal informants that work for the federal government. The new Black Panther Party says kill whites, blood, murder, totally illegal, a call for violence, terroristic threats, racketeering. They're trying to organize this. They say burn Florida. The feds have said they're not going to do anything to them. The Justice Department's coming in. NBC got caught editing tapes to make it look like Zimmerman's racist. Why is the White House trying to start a race war? I mean, they're really trying it. A, do you agree with that? B, why are they doing this?
Well, I don't know why. I don't know the why, but I do know that they jumped on it right away. And what they do, regardless of the administration, is they always jump on hot topics that they could use and twist to their own advantage. And that's what they did with this, with Obama's first statement about if I had a boy, it would look like him, or, you know, words to that effect. You know, has nothing to do with anything. And the fact is, there's violence in this country continually, and I'm sick and tired of hearing what a racist nation America is. Are there racists in this country? Of course there are. But guess what? There are ignorant white people and ignorant black people. Black people are as racist as white people, the ignorant ones of them. But as a nation, this is not a racist nation. If anybody that's not colorblind could clearly see that America elected a black president, how much clearer could it be? Oh, and who's the attorney general? Son of a gun. Guy's skin's a lot darker than mine. Oh, and who's the head of the UN? Boy, she's not a very white shade of white either, is she? So let's stop that this is a racist nation. It's not. What is the administration doing? They do what every administration does. They use events to distract people away from major issues, such as, hey, you have no place to live, you lost your house? Oh, you can't find a job? Oh, you need an operation, but you don't have money for health care? Oh, you just graduated college and you went to one of these diploma mills that they call universities, and you own a university degree in worthlessness, and you're $80,000 in debt and you can't find a job? Hey, how about Trayvon Martin? Let's go there. That's all this is. It's a cop-out. It's covering up. And what they do, again, in every declining economy is they pit people against each other. That's what we're looking at over here. There's no this thing should be out of the news by now. Enough. There are a lot of atrocities going on every day that aren't covered, such as, hey, you want to hear about a $1.6 billion atrocity? You want to hear about a person that's ruined a lot of people's lives and gets to have dinner with Obama? How about John Corzine of MF Global? How about bringing that into the news? Hey, how about the wars that they're fighting? And guys, every day you read the New York Times, you pick it up, and there's a list of dead American soldiers killed because psychopaths sent them there. Oh, that's not important. Let's talk about Trayvon Martin, excuse me.
No, I totally agree, and that's why we're forced to cover it, and you're forced to cover it to point out it's a distraction. But everything is always it's a new level, though, to have NBC editing tapes, and to have the president sitting the Justice Department down there, and to have the Black Panthers obviously on the federal payroll calling to murder all the whites. I mean, and then not getting in trouble. I mean, they are really desperate, is my point with this.
Well, it's a new level, but only to a different degree. Here, try this one for cookbooks and fake film. Hey, how about those weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein has? Here, watch Colin Powell. Oh, he was black too, wasn't he? Oh, wasn't he the Secretary of State or some high official at that level? Something along those lines. What was he?
Secretary of State, you're right.
Yeah, and what was he at the UN showing these little crummy little things about Saddam Hussein and how about those aluminum tubes and yellow
And it was a known lie. You know, they claim that Steak Knife and stuff lied to him or all these guys. No, it was known lies premeditatedly to the American people.
And that's what I'm saying. This is who's running the country. It's at all levels. It's at war. It's at social levels. It's at the economic levels. How much more criminality has to be shoved down the American people's throats before they realize what's happening? And that's why on the cover of the Spring Trends Journal that will be released tomorrow, it's next train to Auschwitz, all aboard. Kiss those calories goodbye, because we're in a fascist state. What are people waiting for? You know, I have one of the operations director of the Trends Research Institute is German. And she tells me this story when she was a young woman, 16 years old, becoming rebellious, of course, living in Germany, of course, and confronting a grandmother and say, how come nobody stood up and stopped the soldiers from taking the Jewish people? How come nobody rose up? And her grandmother said to her, you don't understand. It wasn't one day we woke up and lost all our rights and became a police state. It happened slowly. And then one day, you couldn't speak out anymore. Because if you did, they would take you away and kill you. And that's what's going on in America. And this is just a distraction with this Trayvon Martin. How about the National Defense Authorization Act? How about Obama's executive order that now allows El Presidente of los Estados Unidos declare martial law over, quote, a potential threat? How long does potential last for? How about indefinitely? And he could take over the farms, the factories, the banks, anything that El Presidente wants to do. Hey, how about that wonderful, wonderful new guideline that big bro over there, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, just put into practice, where they're listening to what we're talking about now. Everybody out there, they're watching every keyboard stroke you're making.
And let me bring that up. Let me bring that up, Gerald, because when you talk about next train to Auschwitz, and we showed the amazing cover of the upcoming Trends Journal tomorrow, it's really happening. If you've studied history, you're not doomed to repeat it if you take action. But if you haven't studied it, you are doomed to repeat it, so the adage goes. And it's very true. They're going down the line, every form of tyranny. And 5 years ago, they'd say, we never spy without warrants. Now, Congress says, we want to know about this new NSA base. And the president says, shut up. Hey, you can't launch a war with us, without us authorizing it. Shut up. They are openly engaged in every form of tyranny you can imagine. Why do you think a month ago the head of the CIA would come out, General Petraeus, and betray the Republic and say, we're watching and listening to everything. The Fourth Amendment isn't what it used to be. They're openly announcing, we're listening to you, we'll secretly arrest you, we'll launch wars, the TSA is going to fondle your wife. I mean, it really is going quickly towards the total tyranny, because once the crooks realize they can do anything, the sky's the limit. I want you to speak to that, why they're throwing it in our face, A, but then if you've got 5 to 7 million guns being sold a month and people in national surveys saying they don't trust the government, I don't think this is going to go the way of Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany. I mean, this is going to turn into a bloodbath.
Well, you're also forgetting the other one, the new Supreme Court ruling, of which the Obama administration was a friend of the court, that now allows them to strip search anybody if you get thrown into jail, even, you know, on a minor charge. No, you're not convicted, you're just thrown in jail. Oh, and by the way, I wonder if, you know, if they'd strip search Chelsea or Obama's kids or the Supreme Court justices, or it's just for us. Why are they doing all this, Alex? It's very simple why. They're breaking us down They're humiliating us at every level. And they know that the global financial system is under collapse. Look what's going on in Europe. They just dumped $1.3 trillion of euros to give to the banks at virtually interest-free so that they could stay afloat because they've been run on the banks in Europe. And they need the banks to buy the worthless bonds. Now that's running out. The bond prices in Spain are going back up. They have revolts in the street every day. The robberies and criminality going on in Greece, it's running rampant. We're getting reports back continually.
It's like Argentina 12 years ago. People are dumping their kids out on the streets, starving. Cholera and diseases have come back. The bankers are a plague, and the debt is pretty much all the bankers. It's incredible. So they're basically getting us ready for total martial law. And speaking of the strip search case, remember they said, we'll never give you a ticket for no seatbelt. Then it was, we'll never arrest you. Now they're telling police on record, arrest people for no seatbelt because they want to get everybody in the system. Your wife, who's never been arrested, never had another man touch her, they take their panties off at the Austin jail now and actually go into their butt crack and touch their vagina now. And the women break down and cry at these jails around the country. I've seen some of the jail footage, and they'll beat them, in some cases to death, if the women squeal and cry. And again, it's total pervert training. It's Auschwitz training. That's
exactly it. And that's the reason for the cover. And I love all of the, every time, I was at a party the other night, and I mentioned about the new Supreme Court ruling and how Verrilli, the Solicitor General for Obama, was the friend of the court, was arguing the case in favor of the strip search. And the woman said to me, and she's married to a very famous guy, she said, I don't believe you. I said, what do you mean you don't believe me? You think I'm making this up? She said, no, I refuse to believe you. I like Obama. And that's what they say. Oh, I like Obama. Oh, you like Obama? Great. Spread your legs. Bend over. They're the friend of the court. Welcome to Auschwitz.
Well, look at the airport. That's when the strip searches started under Obama. The old lady's getting strip searched. That's another question. I see the so-called left in this country, other than people, out there who are suing Obama over NDAA, some of the journalists that are out there who have called themselves liberal, the rest of them smile and think it's cute. Torture's now cute because Obama does it. It's bad when Bush did, but now it's cute. When Obama launches wars, it's cute. When he hires more lobbyists and arrests journalists and whistleblowers, it's cute. Who are these liberals?
Liberals are liars. They're intelligent enough to know what is true and what is false and how they've been shafted, but they don't have the courage, the dignity, nor the self-respect to admit to it. So what they do instead, and you pointed it out, it's perfect. If Bush was in office pulling off what Obama's pulling off, the liberals would be screaming bloody murder. They would be on top of Bush, calling him every name, but you know what they do when you tell them the facts and they finally admit to it? They'll say, I wonder why he did it. You wonder why he did it. Why did Jack the Ripper do what he did? Why is it important? By their deeds, you shall know them. So what we're looking at here, Alex, and this is what this Trends Journal is really about. If people don't stand up, speak out, take action, and find courage within them, it's the next train to Auschwitz. It's happening in front of us. You're telling the story about what's going on in the jail, the humiliation. With this Supreme Court ruling, they strip searched somebody for not having an audible bell on a bicycle. And they found that now to be constitutional? Constitutional in where? In what? Orwell could not have dreamt up a better scenario than what's happening in the United States. Big Bro is there, and he's watching you.
So I bring in the other question. What happens? It's like a chemistry experiment where you pour two things together, there's an explosion. In all these national surveys, I've seen 5 of them in the last few months, people say, we're worried about collapse. We're worried about the government being corrupt. We don't trust the government. They're buying 5 to 7 million guns a month, a total record. They're saying, I don't like the government. I mean, don't you think the system realizes that? Yeah, they do. They're buying bulletproof mobile checkpoint pillboxes. They're buying hundreds of millions of bullets and machine guns and armored vehicles. So I guess that's what they think. These bureaucrats think they're just going to have a war with us.
That's right. They know that this thing is collapsing. The financial system is under collapse. It's as clear as that. The reason why they couldn't bail out MF Global, the 8th largest bankruptcy in U.S. history, at a lousy $1.6 billion is because they don't have the money. And anybody knows that when they try to go to a bank like I have and try to withdraw a sizable sum, they will not give it to you without torturing you first. The system is under collapse. They're shrewd enough and unprincipled enough to know that, and they're doing everything they can now to keep the people in place as it collapses. What's going to happen? My belief is, and the scenario that we're putting forth in the Trends Journal is war. The same scenario. The crash of 1929, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, world wars, the panic of 08, the Great Recession / depression. There's a depression in Spain, a depression in Greece, a depression in Italy, a depression in Ireland, a depression in Romania and Hungary. There's depression in the world. America's in a depression. There's no jobs being created worth that could give you a living wage. So few of them are. What comes next? Currency wars. Dun, da, da, da. It's happened. It's going on. You just saw the BRIC meeting, the 4th BRIC meeting. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now South Africa. The 4th one. What are they calling for? A new world order, a new world bank, breaking away from the dollar. Everybody can see what's going on. The president of Brazil is screaming about how their country is being ruined by the currency war and the trade war. They tie together. Now it's world war. The world is at war. What are these demonstrations where 80% of a country is closed down? It's war. What's going on in Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan? And next, the war is going to be Iran. And that's when that will get the people's mind off the economic problems and all of the social inequities that have been dumped upon us.
That's right. The mega banks raping and robbing us publicly, want to start wars internationally, Trayvon Martin race wars domestically. They want to play us off against each other, while Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and a handful of others publicly, their own executives quit and say, we hate our clients, we call them scum, we rip them off, and it's just out in the open, more, as our tax money is used to launch drones, surveillance, to rape and slaughter, not to protect and serve. The good news is the military I talk to is waking up. Most police are waking up, but I tell you, I fear for the future of this country and this world because it is such a crazy time. I want to raise a case here. We'll put it on screen. We've been showing, by the way, the amazing graphics in the upcoming journal that comes out tomorrow at trendsjournal.com. But if you go to the front page of Infowars.com, again, we'll put that on screen. State seizes property under green zoning laws, terrorizes man to death. Agenda 21, eco-fascism bears teeth. And this is in Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, outside Atlanta. The guy had won a whole bunch of court cases. He lived in the edge of the country. They'd annexed the area and said he couldn't have his chickens in the backyard. And then it's a long story, but then they showed up and then his house blew up. And they're saying he killed himself. But, I mean, my point is they already had the land set aside as part of a UN green zone. Not that it was ever going to actually, be for the environment. It's just this is the new fake enviro movement to ignore all the real environmental issues. They create a wicked, twisted counterfeit of it and use it everywhere to take land, take property. It's happening here in Austin. And more, I see government now driving people to their deaths. There was even another Bloomberg article today about record suicides and and overtax us. People just can't pay them, but the bureaucrats don't care. They like the shops closing. They love it. And all the government payrolls going up and all this. I mean, this is crazy, Gerald. What do you think of these cases we're seeing? I'm sending some reporters there. They'll be reporting from Georgia tomorrow on this. Now where the towns, you know, if they can't take your property, they just burn you out like Waco.
That's right, just like Waco. And this is what happens in a third world country. And that's where America is going to. You look at all the data, the gap between the rich and the poor is the widest in the U.S. of any of the industrialized nations. You look at the real wages, how they've fallen in the last year and the last several years. It's one after another. So this is the kind of behavior. So what they do, you see, is, you know, the word, as we say it, justice means J-U-S-T-U-S, just us. Because they're so impotent, because they have no power, the police, what they do is they go after the low-hanging fruit. They bust the chops of everyday people, while guys like John the Slime Corzine slide free. Like all of these mega bankers, the Goldman Sachs gang, the JP Morgan Chase criminals, every one of them have paid major fines. But of course, under the agreement in a fascist state, you don't have to admit or deny that you're guilty. All you do is pay the fine and say goodbye. We'll see you next time. By the way, we're going to have a dinner with Obama. You're invited, $40,000. You don't see any of them doing jail time. So what they do, and by the way, this all ties together, Alex. Just like they make a big deal out of these stupid drug busts that they make and make a big deal out of it, you know, like the war on drugs is going well, and then this Enviro classic thing that you just pulled out, they do the same thing with terrorism. They're losers at every level. But what they do is they trump up little things that would have amounted to hardly anything, considering a country of 312 million people, like the underwear bomber. Dun, da, da, da. You know, this freaky little kid, whether it was a setup or not, even if he was able to ignite the thing, he needed an electronic ignition. What would it have done? Well, you know, a plane full of people would have died, right? Hey, how many Palestinians were killed a couple of weeks ago? How many people in the Congo are being killed? How many people in Yemen? How many people in Syria? What I'm saying is they use these little tiny cases to give themselves credibility, to keep taking away more of our rights and to stamp down on us.
That's right. That's the total theater. And it turns out the government, U.S. government, got him on the airplane. It comes out in Congress, and the congressmen go, let's just not talk about this, so they can sell naked body scanners so Chertoff can make some money. And here's land of the free, home of the brave, on its knees, begging in fear, grope my wife, they say, you know, molest the children, all the TSA being busted every day, molesting, murdering, killing, stealing, child porn, total scum that wants to take this job. And land of the free, home of the brave, the media tells us, says we want proctology exams at the airport because we're so scared of Mutala, the underwear bomber. The truth is the public on average isn't scared, but it's this giant illusion. And now they're trying to harass the Amish and people with farms in their backyard or in the countryside or gardens in their backyard. I mean, it's just a bunch of criminals. It's just still shocking to me just how criminal government and the corporations that control it have gotten. I mean, these are real sacks of crap.
Oh, they really are. And now we have an election coming up. And it's going to be what, between Romney and Obama? It's not the lesser of two evils. It's the greater of two stooges. That's all it is. These are no choices. As I said to you the last time we spoke, I'm pushing for a voters' strike. Because to me, voting for a lesser of two evils in a criminal organization, you are an accessory to the crime. The crime being committed against democracy and freedom in America. If you vote for one of the two members of the two-headed one-party system, to me, you are an accessory to the crime. And it's a crime that's all we have to choose from.
Gerald, you bring me to my next point here with you in the limited time we have today. But before we get to my next point on Obama impeachment, I've got to say, while you've been talking, you were gracious enough to send us an early copy of the new Trends Journal coming out, and you have got one of the most amazing, not just graphic artists, but artists overall. I'd like to pay to get some of those blown up and hang them in my office. I mean, who is doing this artwork for the Trends Journal? I mean, it's some of the best stuff I've seen.
Anthony Frieda, he's brilliant, and Eugene Gregan, our fine artist. So yeah, Anthony Frieda is off the charts. We just give him an idea, and he goes with it. And unlike working for other people, you know, like like the New York Times has his stuff, but others, there's no art director over his shoulder, you know, telling this color isn't right, don't put this there, don't do that. He has the complete freedom, but plus, he's on the same page as we are. He sees what's going on, and he's as sad as we are about it. So it's really expressing it through the art. And by the way, art is the way of finding, part of the way of finding the true meaning of the human spirit. And that's why the art is so important.
That's right. The truth is evident in these graphics. It jumps off that this isn't even satire or Kafkaesque. It has really gotten to this absurdist, bizarro level. But it's a paradox of the old free republic is still there to a certain extent, with this parallel tyranny growing. And we now see the old republic fading away. My God, once the old republic is set like the sun, this is going to be a cold, dark night. But the truth we put out are like little suns, and those truths stand out. So now is the time to get our torches in the night and not hide in our little hovels. Like Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, waiting for the knock at the door. It's time to politically and in the info war, and physically in defense later if we have to get our torches and march on the enemy, to stop just waiting while this happens.
Yeah, amen, amen. And that's, you see, in the midst of this chaos, by the way, that's when the greatest creativity comes about. That's why this kind of art explodes. And that's why the people's creativity could change this. The future is not predetermined. Anyone that says that you do not create the future is trying to rob you of your dignity, your self-respect, and the God that lives within you.
That's right. That's right. All those talented liberals, I'm sorry to interrupt, it's just pure genius. All those talented liberals who are well-meaning people who exposed Bush with the cartoons, the graphics, the too stupid to be president guy, Adu was just reminding me, they're all gone. And I've contacted some of them and I said, why aren't you exposing Obama? And they go, well, we know he's bad, but at least he's not a Republican. And I'm like, shame on you. You know, it's like if Mitt Romney gets in and continues this, conservatives better go after him. This is beyond left-right. This is about good and evil, right and wrong. And if people can't recognize that we're in deep trouble, it's aiding and abetting pure evil. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're right on. And I agree with you. And this is the opportunity now. Never before has it become so transparent that this is nothing more than the presidential reality show, another made-for-TV cheap thriller. And look at it. The last 27 Republican debates, who held them? ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, and MSNBC. Who got to ask the questions? Brian Williams, Diane Sawyer, all of the prostitutes from a long history of prostitution. It's all one club. And the people are gulled into believing that they're watching democracy unfold in front of them as they're watching a two-bit debate take place where the game is rigged. You're told where to stand. They already know how much time they're going to allow each person to ask the question. And everybody saw with their own eyes and could hear with their own ears how Ron Paul was marginalized from day one. They pushed him to the sides. They gave him the least amount of time to talk. So the whole game is being rigged. And that anyone, as I said, that supports it, they deserve what they get. But on the other hand, the vacuum is so big. Everybody could see through this now.
That's right.
When you have such a cheap show that you have a Mitt Romney and Obama, we could fill it with greatness. And this is the opportunity to do it.
That's my next point.
If we don't, we will lose.
Well said. That's my next point. And I want to give you closing comments here on any other topics or points that we haven't gotten to yet, Gerald. Gerald, we've put out a 10-minute video titled Obama Impeachment 2012. and it's red linked up at Infowars.com. I launched it today, a few hours ago. There's already a huge buzz on it. And it's Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, cut some audio. It was his idea to do this. We've been pushing for the impeachment, for launching a war without congressional approval, all the other things he's done. The video breaks it down. But my point and Sean's point, and I want your take on this, is even if we don't get the impeachment, and of course it's been introduced in the House in Jones's resolution out of North Carolina, we impeach him in the court of public opinion. We call it for what it is, a fraud, a hoax, that we're aware and we're not just acquiescing. We stand up and voice the fact that we say this is a fraud and a lie and that we know it's criminal. And instead of having the establishment push Coney 2012, that's this new left-wing military activism, this is a true grassroots movement. What do you say about pushing for an impeachment of Obama, and then Romney too, if he gets in and does this same stuff?
Well, I think any pressure you put on him in any way is appropriate, and also to expose the entire system for being the fraud that it is. Again, we do not have a representative form of democracy. We have a gang of 535 congressmen and senators in total telling all of us what to do, and the only people that they represent are the people that give them money or that have a lot of power. So I think it's great what you're doing, to keep putting pressure on the fraud, and that's what we need.
Gerald Celente, there's so much more we could cover, but give us an idea of what's coming out in tomorrow's big quarterly Trends Journal, what comes up in the weekly and daily alerts, and any other tidbits. Here, you've got the floor.
Well, the focus of this Trends Journal is really how the future is unfolding and how you better be taking action now because you're not going to be able to take it later. And of course, we have a new contributor, Nomi Prinz, who is actually a former managing director of Goldman Sachs. Again, like Paul Craig Roberts, one of our other contributors, that have seen, and like myself, that have been on the other side and see what it is and have moved into a different direction. So there's a lot of economic news on how to prepare for the future, a lot of geopolitical news, and what you can do to help change the future. So this is probably one of our most important Trends journals ever written.
Amazing. Just in a personal note, for those that don't know, most viewers do, you were robbed by MF Global and John Corzine. It's everything we said 6 months ago has been now confirmed, as you know, but to remind people briefly, he did lie under oath. He was exposed by Duffy, the head of the CME group, for lying. Nothing happened. The memos are now out that, of course, the CEO ordered the money taken. It did go to J.P. Morgan in London. And he's been caught lying open and shut, admitted now for 3 weeks. Nothing. I mean, if they can get away with that, I mean, it is a new level of just open thievery. And I think you're right. The reason they're doing it is none of them want to have to pay stuff out when they steal it. That signifies they're getting ready to start stealing everything. In your own personal case, give us your take on that, Gerald.
Well, that's exactly it. That one phone call, they needed $200 million really quickly, and they couldn't get it anywhere. So they don't know where it came from. What do you think it came from? Petty cash? Of course they knew where it came from. They took it out of segregated accounts like mine. And it's not only MF Global. This is going on everywhere. Once a system collapses, you're screwed. There's nobody there to save you. And that's the message of all this, and that's what I learned from it. And that's why I am saying, and that's what this Trends Journal is about, we are looking at a collapse of the global economic system, particularly in the United States and Europe. And when this thing collapses, we believe there's going to be an economic martial law. El Presidente of Los Estados Unidos has already put into play all of the laws, guidelines, and executive orders that put them in position to take over.
That's right.
And they're doing the same thing in Europe.
That's right. Same game plan in Latin America, Asia, all the same bankers. They've got all the ducks in the row. They're telling us this. We know that Paulson told them martial law in 2008 if they didn't do what they said. I mean, it's on. I mean, my gosh, this is incredible.
Yes, it's on. And people better, and again, we are using this Trayvon Martin. It's been taking up all of the news time, and none of what's going on is being recognized. So other than, every day, one of the first site I go on to is your site to see the news that the news isn't covering. And most people are getting brainwashed by the whitewash and the hogwash that the prostitutes are selling so they can't see what's going on.
Amazing. Gerald, things are moving so fast. Perhaps I can get you on the radio Thursday or Friday or sometime next week to do a full hour. We'll talk to you here right at the end of the show and find out. Guys, off air, will you ask Gerald to talk to his great crew and see when he can come on before? Because I know you're about to leave the country soon, right, for a few days?
Yes. Yep.
All right, well, let's get...
I'll be gone. I'll be back near the end of the month.
Okay, well, perhaps we can get you on before that happens because this is so important. Thank you, Gerald Celente.
Thank you.
Folks, that's it for this edition. Hopefully we'll still be here tomorrow. By the way, on our YouTube channel, we've been checking it in the last 30 minutes. I've never seen this at YouTube. Our other videos are playing. They're not letting the Impeach Obama video play. And either that means it can't handle the traffic, which is bull. You know, I've had 100,000 views in 1 hour before on a video. Or they're censoring it. Guys, show them that. Hit play on this here. And we're doing this on multiple computers, and it's not playing it. I have never seen it do that. And the other videos are playing. So I don't know what's going on with that, but Impeach Obama 2012, it's gone particularly viral since we launched it about 2 hours ago, a little under 2 hours ago. All right, I want to thank Gerald Celente. Be sure to go to trendsjournal.com and subscribe. Support us because we're under a lot of attacks and stuff I won't even get into. And spread the word, 15-day free trial at prisonplanet.tv. And when these videos are out there free on the web later, please pay it forward. Email it. Tell people verbally about it. Show people at work about it, at church about it, your Facebook, your Twitter. Help get this info out because the system openly wants to start censoring folks. I should have brought that up with Gerald. And don't forget, you can submit videos until the end of the month to win a $5,000 prize and get a shot in the running to be a reporter right here at the Infowars.com Command Center in Austin, Texas. Until tomorrow night, I'm Alex Jones signing off.